So thank you so much for taking some time to speak with us. And we had such a nice lunch today. Thank you for bringing us to your summer home. And can you tell us a little bit, just describe where we are right now?
We are in a place called Tsaile, which is Black Rock Canyon. There's a rock up there. Uh, it's called Black Rock. So we are down here, and this is called Black Rock Canyon. My mother was from up on top, and this is their homeland down here. My sisters and I were the caretakers of the land.
How long have you been coming to this place?
Since I was small, my parents, my dad, my mom is from here. My dad is from Chinle, and they had a lot of peaches up here. My dad would, since he's an in-law, he would be helping up here a lot, fixing the fence, planting. That time they would plant by horses. Those horses and the plow that they would pull in back, and they would plant like that. And he always used to be proud to say he would plant in one whole week this whole field from there all the way around.
Oh,
So he did a lot of that. And after that, my older sister was born, and then they were still up here. And then I was born in 1950, and we were still coming in. And school was after the long walk. They took a lot of Navajos, and then in 1868 they were back over here, and because they signed treaties to say that we had to get educated and go to school. So it was people were in the canyon, stories that they tell about where they would hide their children so they won't go to school.
mm.
And so my mom and dad both got hidden, so they never went to school, so they didn't speak any English, just Navajo. And my mother said that they did that to her because she had to take care of the land. There was nobody to take care of the land. If she goes to school, then there'll be nobody here.
Uh-huh.
And the same with my dad. If he goes to school, there'll be nobody to take care of the livestock, the sheep, the horses. So they end up not going to school. And when we come up here, we used to take peaches out, and we would go trade with other people. And until I was like probably about 5, and ended up with my grandma. And my grandma took care a lot of us, because at that time people were going away for jobs again, for migrant workers. They just bring a bus, and people would just get on it, and they took them to Phoenix, Colorado, Utah. They do migrant works.
Oh,
hmm
I
And
never heard that. Yeah.
so I just ended up staying with my grandma a lot, and they put me in school, and we hardly ever came back over here. And until one day, I think it was in the 72, somebody came to see my mom and said, how come you guys are not going back up there? Some people are wanting to move on to your land. And so we made it, so we got back up here. And since then, we haven't left. We've been through a lot of land dispute with our neighbors, and because of this, they're the same clan as us. And we had to have land meetings about this place, and we just stayed here.
Mhm.
Right now, there's a lot of you have to have like land usage papers, land usage permit, and our elderlies never had land usage papers, or it was just owned by. They just know who owns certain place and who uses that place, and so this is right now. Because there's a lot of changes in the Navajo Nation, we have to get permits now, land use permits and grazing permits, and that involves having to make a conservation plan. Like, what are you going to do with the land? How do we get water? How do you do all these? And make sure that we're using it.
Mm-hmm.
And before we were using it, we're still using it.
Yes.
You know, we're still here, and we feel like we don't really get any type of help from anybody being up here. So we're just dealing with what we have here.
Right. So it's hard to demonstrate use when it's so remote and it's difficult to access and so on. So
Mm-hmm. The National Park Service, they go to different places up here, and also the tribe owns probably about 60% of the canyon, so they work together, and the tribe hardly comes around, except last August they had the roundup, and that's recent, huh? That's not last. That's August 2014. They came around and they took my niece's horses and her donkeys, and they cut our fence up. They made little roads for their ATVs, and they went up there and they brought them out.
Oh.
And since then, we don't have any horses on this land,
Oh.
except other people's horses that run in and starting to eat all our peaches trees. And
Oh.
so, and cattle that don't even belong to us. So we have to keep those fences in, and they're here because they're close to the water up there. And to us, that water was keeping the horses in here because they're there. The vegetation's there, everything. We don't have to haul anything in, and the only thing is they were not branded. So that we do have grazing permits that says we have to brand them. So they sold them and did whatever they want to, and I'm sure the chapter got some money and they got some money, and then we don't know how they used them. So it was very bad. I mean, we in our family we really tried to respect our tradition, and with the dealing with medicine man and how we try to keep this place as much as have the spiritualness to it here, because this is all we have of our family. Before us, we had medicine men in our family. They're all gone. Our elderlies are all gone, and we're still taking care of the land. And a lot of it gets blessed, like with the medicine men. We have prayers, and we try to carry on what they taught us.
What are some of the spiritual dimensions of water? We started to talk about that a little bit ago, but what's missing largely in the West in terms of attitudes towards water that perhaps your traditions could help with?
I think we talk about water as being ina. Ina is life. When we're first born, there's water. We're in our mommy's tummy, there's water. When we come out, there's water. And when a child is blessed at birth, they're given water with other medicine. And so it's part of being very sacred and spiritual as it brings us into this world, and it brings us life to this here. And all these, there's a water place over there. There's a water place over here. There's some more places down here that have given us water before to drink and to live on. And those have all come to us through offering them, doing offerings to them. And sometimes we have to hire a medicine man to do that. And that's one thing we haven't done to bring a medicine man back up here to bless all these water places that we had. And they say that if we don't do that, then our water's going to go away. And there's a lot of practice that we don't do anymore just because I think it's a loss, not really loss, but if the parents the parents, the teachers, and whoever has connection with our children, or even us, we need to rethink in that way that we are made from this water and through the earth. And when even our hair were made with thunder and water, and the hair tie that Stan wears, his is red, but the original ones are the white ones. His is red because he's a veteran. That's what he says. Or maybe he's a Pueblo. I don't but the hair tie symbolizes the rainbow. And the hair is the rain, the moisture. And it holds that together, which is part of our thinking and our planning, everything we do. So those things are very important to us.
Yes.
Even the offering to the waters are very important to us. And there's a lot of different religion now too among us as the Nat people. And a lot of our younger ones are very educated, much more than we have. And when I speak of my children, I really, even if they understand English, I think I really try to teach them about water, how even the living things like fishes or turtles or any amphibians that live in the water, they're very protected by the thunder people, who are the holy people. So we need to be careful of them too. We can't hurt them. And I remember teaching my children, they had to go fishing. I was telling them, don't bring any fish in the house because we can't take care of them. Because I just think of the thunder people as holy people that are stingy with these, and they don't want them hurt, and I can't feed them. And they died, and I was telling them, don't throw them out, don't flush them in the toilet, or take them back outside and give it to a plant. And their friends would just say, what's she talking about? But my kids, I said, am I just sounding crazy or something? And I was telling them that, yeah, the thunder people was stingy with their own people, the ones that depend on the water, that we need to take care of them. And that came from my dad. One year they let all the fishes out from Tsaile Lake, and to drain it, and there were fishes all the way down, and they were just flopping all over, and they were all silver, And we were coming, my dad was really upset, and he said that, something that's what they call the thunder people. They're going to be really mad at us. They're going to take our water supplies away, he says. Why did they do that? And I remember one of my sisters saying, well, people are getting them, they're eating them. And we don't really eat fish. We don't eat fish just because that's the way we're raised. Because my grandma really put that in our head, and she used to get after my sister when she goes fishing, and I guess I'm still that way.
Why do you think the Navajo, the Diné, don't eat fish, or traditionally? That's an interest. I didn't know that.
Traditionally, my daughters, they always calling me and say, well, I don't know, I don't eat fish too, and this tribe eats fish, and I have to eat. I went to Minnesota with my daughter, and we went there, and there's all these people there, and the men are cooking, then they put all this fish in front of me, and here's the fish, with like you're here, and then I said, oh my gosh, and then my granddaughter said, me and my grandma, we don't eat fish, and I felt so awful, and I told her, just eat a little piece. And then my daughter was upset with me, and she said, they did this for you, and I know. I said, I can't eat it. I said, I'll take it home. I said, there's my sister, they love fish, so she'll eat it. I said, so they wrapped it up for me. But my daughter was saying, how come we can't eat it? And in our story, there's a story of a flood that came in the other world before this world. And a lot of our people died in the water in the flood, and they've all turned to fishes and stuff. So.
Oh, well, there's the reason. Yeah.
So that's what my grandma used to say. So they're relatives. That's probably why the thunder people are, they protect them too. So that's That's just one thing that we were talking about. And that's what we decided. That's why we don't eat fish.
That's interesting.
So,
So, in our trip into your camp here, we saw many petroglyphs and petrographs, pictographs, and many lightning bolts. And can you talk about the significance of those forms, the lightning forms? Does that relate to what you're talking about with water and the thunder gods and so on?
maybe. Or thunders are very powerful. And we have male rains, we have female rains. Male rains are the ones that make a lot of noise with thunder and everything. And the ones that are really bad, like they start making a lot of thunder and noise, booming, those are considered to be boy teenagers like thunder. But there's the male and female. The female is the light rain that has no lightning. It's just quiet and it's just rains softly. That's our female rain. And when I think of those lightnings, it just it's a protection. It's a protection, and or that lightning's been struck a place where it's made so that that's not a place where we go. Go to places where that things are struck by lightning. Even if a wood is struck by lightning, we don't burn that. We used to live down here under the trees down by that Hogan is like a tomb. The one we came in, that was my brother. He died in there. We can't live in there. So we just move out. So next house we were down here and under the trees, and we came back and my mom said, we got to move again. And it's that the tree got struck by lightning, so we ended up right here. So we're so we can't do anything with down there again. So it's just it can be good or bad, I guess.
Yeah. So, going back to your time here as a kid, and what you remember about how the water was flowing, and it was easier to grow crops. It was easier to find water locally. You didn't have to haul water from Jinli, from the chapter house. Talk a little bit more, if you would, about what you remember being a kid in the canyon and the relationship to water, just on an everyday basis. How would you go get your water, for example? How would you gather? You told me a little bit, but I just wanted to capture that.
My parents would they make a water hole. They dig it up and they put like a barrel or something in the water in the hole, and the water drains it up during the night. Then we have running water. Water in the ground. And that's how we had drinking water and the water for everything. And we just cover it with a cover, and so there's always water in there. And
would there be holes in the bottom of the barrel that would let it flow in, do you think?
Yeah, there's a big hole in the bottom. Yeah.
And then you could just scoop it out with a small can or a ladle or something.
And Stan is used to making wells. He just says to get some pebbles, like Farmington pebbles, that San Juan, they're real nice pebbles.
Oh, yeah.
You just put them at the bottom and that filter it so you have clear water, he said. But we never did that. We just had it in the ground. Then it just fills up, and I think that the underground water was probably closer to the top at that time. But now it's probably far down. This water, that way up, the waterfall, comes up there, and then it must run under here, and it comes out down where we were, further down where we were. I think it's the second main dip that we came around. That's where it comes up down there. So there's underground water down there. But we don't have, we have a lot of women in my family, and we don't have enough manpower to do that, because we always, when my parents were younger and we were just little kids, they did a lot of plowing with horses, and it was always wet, and they had irrigations, and there used to be sort of like a pond there towards that way. And now when it rains, all that water comes down here and then it drains down that way,
Uh-huh.
down that way. And then it goes into the field. There was a lot more, it was wetter that way. And it's just drier now. Everything's real dry.
So if you were wanting to do crops, then you would have a lot of just natural runoff
Yeah,
that would
just
keep
a
the
natural.
ground moist.
And that natural water would last, it would last all summer, so we could grow whatever we wanted to. And when we did water like that, it was, you can haul water. Sometimes we used to go around the back of this canyon and haul water from one of my cousin's place and then bring it back this way. That's in a wagon and horses. And then we left, and when we came back, there was still water running down here, but not as much anymore.
Uh-huh.
And when we came back, there were pine trees. We never had pine trees. We have pine trees up there now against that wall.
Oh.
So there was probably coming down. They came down from the mountain.
Oh.
With the so we had all this pine trees up there. There's a lot more pine trees that way. They're all up there.
Uh-huh.
And then it used to come down to our camp where we moved from, that water. And we did the same thing again, just put barrels in the ground, and we had water again until my dad was getting sick a lot. And also we went up this way, and we used to hike a lot with the kids, and we started seeing trash. I guess people were throwing down trash from up on top, people that live up on there. So we stopped doing those wells, and we just start hauling water in. And we haul a lot of store water, the 24 packs.
Yes.
Yeah, so we always have a bunch here, and then plus these water. We usually have 3 or 4 barrels here, and that lasts us for about a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just get some more, haul some more in. And the hardest is in June when everything is really sandy to bring water in. So we try to get as much in as we can and just really take care of it.
Now, you told me before that you haul water from different places, but from the chapter house in Chenli. Can you what's a typical kind of process when you go over to the chapter house? How does that work?
When I went there, they just asked me. We just sign our name, and other people said they ask you if you belong to the chapter. I've never had anybody ask me that. I just asked to get water, and then there's a water. You just drive under it, and then there's a hose hanging down, and they charge you. And I wasn't sure about how much the gallon is, but for one of them, it's almost like either $1 or $2. I think it was 86 cents, and we were really surprised. And then after that, it was weird. Like up here, we don't really have any. Sometimes we only have a lot of canned food, and so you learn to dry food, and you learn how to eat a lot of canned food.
Yeah.
Dry food is very rare, so fresh food, and so we eat a lot of that, and those cost money too. When we're up here, we can't work. It's not typical 8 to 5 job, but we're up here working. But when we go down there, we're counting pennies. We're 86 cents,
And each of those barrels are about 55 gallons, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so about $1 for a barrel of water. But then it took nearly an hour to get here.
Yeah, and gas.
And gas, and there's just a lot of time and energy. Waiting in line at the chapter house probably in the summer. Yeah.
So, and they have somebody that sits there to make sure you get all your water. There are wells, but a lot of those wells are some of them are trash around it, and some of them are dry. And we used to go to the Park Service to get water, but now I heard they won't let people get water anymore. So, and a lot of the wells are drying up. So probably the only place would be the chapter house.
Have you heard anything about contamination from uranium in any of the wells?
Not around here. And Dawn was saying she wanted to check some water up here. And So I know she wants to do that, but up here we haven't heard any about uranium.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
a little bit lower, maybe Central Navajo Nation, or I don't know. Where,
Maybe they're up. They're mostly in Farmington area, the area on the east side.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and the west too. Their terrain is very open. Like they have people that go there to work.
Uh-huh.
They mine them. So in here we don't have any mines.
Yeah, this is very pristine, protected. Just on the issue of food, it's interesting. We were talking to Dunlay and the two students yesterday, and the two students were very interested in trying to reinvigorate gardening and farming and so on, so people could have more of their local food. And of course it is becoming more difficult to do that because of the lack of water and the lack of support for introducing agriculture. Everything is done with hand tools, you said, so it's next to impossible to produce enough for a family to live on, without the water, without the maybe that you were talking about having a tractor in the early days and so on. So families are dependent on canned food or bringing food from outside, and that's such a difficult thing. I know that we talk a lot in Colorado about that, that the tomato comes from 500 miles away, and we could, it's probably better if we could grow our own. But there's a lot of energy, and it's difficult.
Here we used to dry a lot of food. We dry the corn, we dry squash, we dry melons. Everything was dried because we would get a lot. But it's mostly for our family, and some are to help out other families and to help relatives with ceremonies and things. And that's what we really miss. Because when they need corn or corn pollen or what they need for their ceremony, we can, or even corn husks. We make a lot of corn husks, and we use those to help out, and we can't really do that. We had to go to Stan's family, who are on Lukachike, and they grow corn, and they give us, what we need. So that's been real helpful like that. But here is, I think my parents always, they didn't get schooled in English, but they only took care of the land, and they always come up with corn and everything. They work very hard, And we try to work as hard, and it just seems like we right now we've been thinking about trying to get water, and we need an irrigation pump, and we can. If we have to maintain that blue truck, that's the only one in our family, and you always need a 4-wheel in this canyon.
Yeah.
But you can also use the trails, and people can use trail to get here, because when we move in, everything is here. I just moved out my 2 big plastic box of food, so we don't have any food here now because I got to redo them. New fresh salt, fresh sugar, fresh everything, rice. So I took them all out, and so we just different alternative ways, and how we can do that, and getting water, maybe pipe, getting them into barrels, and then getting one of those really big barrels and get it out there and fill that up. And then we could use that to water the plants. And it's going to be with hand again, so we're going to be probably making little buckets out of cans. That's what we used to do, so still that's around. So we drink a lot of coffee, so we just use those coffee cans, and we use them for little buckets.
So would it be principally corn that you would plant? Or?
Corn and squash, and probably corn and squash and melons, and beans too sometimes. And corn, it takes a lot to raise something this big, to even, I used to have a little field right here, real close, just squash, nothing but squash all the way down. And we use water from rinse water from the dishes, and a lot of that, and catching the water when the rain does come.
Yes.
Just getting them out there. And so even potatoes, we peel them and then we put them in the water to drain some of that starch. We use that to the,
Every drop is
so
utilized.
that's my peach tree right there. That was my mom's. So that's the only thing gets water over there.
That little one right there.
Yeah, by the cactus right there.
Yeah.
So that's still there.
Yeah.
And so we do try to maintain like that. And I don't know, if I go to the chapter, I would feel like I can't get it, and I would feel like intimidated. I can't afford it, So
Yeah.
and
So if you had a pump, I guess Don Lay said you used to have a pump or something.
yeah,
but
somebody stole it.
Oh God! So do you pump it off of do you put a little dam in the canyon or in the arroyo? Or do you pump it from underground?
We had a lot of water, like I said,
Yeah.
down there. We used to have the water would seep out of the ground.
Oh, okay.
That's where we used to pump it out into the
Okay, so you
field.
could just have a standing barrel
Yeah.
and it's just pumped directly.
Yeah, and we had these black holes. We had some of those really big holes. I don't know if we can do it. Some places they're still laid around. My uncle bought all these hoses, and we would pump out water from that place. But that's all dried up now.
I saw from the rim. I saw circular plots, and it looked like some kind of, I don't know if it was squash or what would have been planted in a circle with something in the middle of each circle. And big circles, as big as this shed.
There's all kinds of some kind of projects going on with different families. Some families invite other people to help them, and they. I think the Navajo tribe has an agricultural department who goes out and does like dry farming with them, and set it up and teach them how to do that.
I see.
I think once they leave, then if you don't have a vehicle, then you're doomed again. You don't have any water to run. Like they have barrels, you have to put water up there, certain lit off the ground, and then they have those holes. And this year the field that we had, it was like everything was drying up within 2 days. You need a lot of water. Before that, my mom says they only need 1 cup of water a week. So we had water. We got these buckets, only 1 cup each, corn, just like that. But now it's like every 2 days, constantly. That's the only way we got a little bit of corn, but not a lot. So.
Can I ask? Are you warm enough? Are you okay?
I'm warm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to put this other log.
Oh, okay.
I'll just put this is kind of a little
That's a cottonwood, yeah.
cotton. What do you think? It's okay?
It's okay. It's okay. Only time that we heard about the San Juan hearings about those underground water and things like that, my cousin came up and he says, we need to look at the water. Their family were raised here too. They said, we know you guys have water back there. We want to see if we can use some of it. And so how are you going to get it to your land? They're on the other side. And he says, I think we can make all work together. He says, I have a water pump and I have a tractor, and we can set it up that way. We can set it to the water. We can pump it up to here, and then we can both use it. And so we went to see it, and then he never came back. And then that's when he said, what's going to happen when all these hearings are over? Are we going to lose our rights to all the underground water, too? And we never think about it. It just runs underneath us. We don't worry about it. We talked about making a well up here, but we don't have the equipment. None to do that, none to work. No, like I said, it's a lot of women in our family. So we do both the male and the females work. So we all work.
Yeah, so that whole situation, I mean, there was a success in terms of shutting down the Mojave coal-fired plant, and that was a lot of precious ancient aquifer water from here. both under Hopi and Navajo, I guess. Big aquifer. And so I was amazed. I only learned about that not too long ago, a couple years ago, of that there was a 370-mile pipeline for the coal slurry, and it just seems crazy, given the need for water up in this region, and of course the coal from the Peabody mine to the Navajo generating plant in Page, I think that's carried by electric train at this point, but how would you try to help someone understand the preciousness of water? I think a lot of it is just ignorance, like if somebody moves from Chicago to Phoenix, they grew up next to a lake, and it's always snowing, it's always raining in Chicago. Then they move to Phoenix, and they want to be able to have a big lawn, they want to be able to turn on their tap, and so on, but they don't understand the larger region. How do you, and they're not bad people, they just don't know, so what would you tell that person living in Phoenix about their water use? What would you teach them?
Don't know. I'm really trying hard to live here, and as this too with this water situation, I don't know. When there was a person that came, just people that come by, and these are Navajos too. We used to have youth groups that would come down the canyon to visit us, and that's when my parents were still alive. And one time I told him up there before we got down the trail, and I said, we know we have no running water and no electricity down there, and you have to really be careful of this water. So they're given this much water to carry down, and I tell them don't drink too much water going down, because we have no water unless if you're willing to dig up some water, and then you can drink that water. And these are even Navajo kids that are living in the community with a lot of water. They don't have swimming pools, but they have running water they can turn on and shower and everything, and electricity. And so I told them, you take care of this water. And some of them were just naughty, and the sun is so hot, you can get sick with drinking too much water too. So we have to all take care of this little bit of water. And we came up here, and when we got here, they camped down here. There's a real nice camp area. And then my mom was in there, and then two of them came over, and they said, where can we take a shower?
Oh.
And I laughed, and I said, we have no showers. And then my mom said, now, what did they want? I said, there's no water. They want to take a shower. And then she said, what are you laughing about then? He says, teach them how to use the bowl to wash up.
Ah, there you go.
And I said, we don't have that much water for them to take a bath. You don't need that much water. So I came in here, I was showing them how to wash themselves. These are girls.
Oh, that's great.
It was like, these are Navajos. You think that they all live like that. They don't. It's just where you're from. And then
So it doesn't have to be the person from Chicago. I mean, even people just
they
the
need
region.
to see it. They need to haul water. And then another group came, and one of the leaders that came with a group of students was off the reservation too. And he came here, and he had to help haul wood and water in, and before the kids came. So we were doing that a week before, and then he was sitting there, and then we're eating, and we're all tired, and then he says, do we need to get some more water? And I said, I don't think so, not today, I said. And then he started talking, and he says, I think I won't play with the ducks anymore. He says, I said, where are you from? I said, he says, Crystal. And Crystal has a really nice area with running water, and they live up in that place where they have water running all the time. And he says, we have ducks, we have our own ducks, and we play with them, we feed them, and we play in the water with them. And I said, you play in the water? You're a big man. And then he says, yeah, we play in the water, but I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. He says, I just saw all this hauling water and I feel really bad, he says. And but his relatives were chiefs from their generation, or chiefs of the Navajo people from a long time ago. And we had a really good talk about things, how their grandpa used to encourage all Navajos, taking care of all Navajos, no matter if they're rich, poor, they're all Navajos. So he was really surprised that we even exist down here. And I said, yeah, isn't that what your grandpa said? Go back to your land. We're still here with nothing, just what we had, and still trying to get it. You know, we would love to know more about wind power, maybe. Maybe it'll pump up some water for us. I don't know. My kids are still, my daughter went into environmental, and I told her, you need to bring some power, but it seems like we don't really need some power. We need something to pump up that water from down there, you know, or to haul water from down here. And I think people that are in Phoenix, so when I go down there, you know, they're very lucky to live like that with a lot of water and with a lot of electricity. But here we're still struggling, and but I think they need to see it.
I think that's a great idea. Have everybody, there has to be a requirement. You want to move to Phoenix? You have to live at Canyon de Chelly for a year first.
I don't know. I just, like, if there's
you may not like that so much, 5 million people moving here.
I think if the school system, you know, they need to talk about water.
Yeah.
You know, just.
And that's, you know, that's really part of our goal is to share these materials, this information with schools up and down the watershed. And we've done a lot of work in Colorado with watershed education, and the county that my family is from runs from the high mountains all the way to the Utah border. So it's a long, skinny county, San Miguel County. So it's very rich up by the ski area in Telluride, and lots of water. People don't even think about it. And then you go down to about 4,500 feet, and it's very dry, very hot, and a lot of drought, and difficult to farm, and so on. And so we're trying to connect the different students across that watershed and get them to appreciate water use. So if you're a kid up in Telluride and they're taking water out of the river in order to make snow so they can go skiing, you know, now maybe it's a good thing because some of the communities downstream have senior water rights. So they can, if water drops below a level, they can make a call on the water, and the people in Telluride can't make snow anymore. They have to send the water on down, which is a good thing. That's because the communities downstream were there a long time ago, like not so long ago, but over 100 years ago. And so it's right at that point now, though, where do we have snow for skiing, or do we have our crops down in the lowlands? And it's very interesting. Yeah,
which reminds me of the Sacred Mountain in the west, where they're making snow, artificial snow to play on, you know. And there are plants up there that need that water. It's going to change the balance of all those things. And we use plants for medicine. And that's our Sacred Mountain, you know.
That's the big controversy, I know, and that's amazing, the idea of using recycled water on a sacred mountain. And what are the negative consequences of using recycled water on the San Francisco Peak?
I think it would be where the isn't recycled water. Is it from sewer?
Yeah, it's been in terms of the chemistry, it's pure, you know, supposedly. Right, but it has been used. It's not pristine. It's not from a natural aquifer. It's coming from a place where it's been used, it's been contaminated, but then purified by going through water purification processes. So it's not like it's not like they're putting sewage on the mountain, but it is recycled in the sense that it's been passed through these systems. So so if you only think about it, let's say, from a practical standpoint, you go, well, what? It's water. Why not? You know, what could be the harm? But there is still some question about could it carry some things like hormones or other invisible chemistry that would be harmful for the native plants or whatever, you know. So it's a very difficult question, and I mean,
That's where a lot of Navajo medicine and herbalists and other people from our tribe, they go there to gather herbs and put offerings, and then also that it's I can't even go on a sacred mountain without knowing the songs or prayers. That's how sacred they are. And when people play on it, and that makes it all more hard. And that's what we depend on to live, to try to make it through a day. You know, that's what our leaders, our chiefs, our headmen from when they came back, when they were taken to Fort Sumner and they came back and they said, let my people go back within the 4 sacred mountains. You know, that's where we are right now. And they're playing on our sacred mountain. You know, that's just...
So it's sacrilege.
Mm-hmm.
It's
that's
sacrilege.
what it is.
Yeah.
And I don't think they'll hear us, you know, and I think we'll just probably keep praying, keep putting down our offering, you know. And so that's another thing that they're doing down there besides the water, you know, but everything that has water in it, that has moisture, that has more, that's a snow mountain, you know, in the west, you know. So
there's another area that I understand to have sacred significance is the confluence of the Colorado and the Little Colorado.
oh yeah.
And there's this whole proposal about the Escalante development. They want to put a gondola,
Oh
a
yeah.
tram coming down,
I
and a
heard,
big
yeah.
resort. Have you been talking about that in your family, or?
Not. We don't really talk about other things way out there. Most of it comes from when our kids come back and we talk about it, or when they're in. One of my daughters, Dawn too, is very much aware of everything that goes around out there, and we don't really talk about those things, but we know it probably affects those people. And when they approve it, we will probably say, I thought we said they were sacred. You know, what happened to that, you know? And out here, there's a lot of different places, too, that are like that. That's putting offering for the water. And hopefully, I hope the Navajos are doing it, you know, that they now are doing it for everybody else, you know, instead of just us. That's the way that I think. We need more water. We hope someplace else, somebody's praying in the morning for water. I hope somebody's thankful we got snow. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
But the sacred mountain is just... I asked the medicine man about that. I said, how come all this is happening with the sacred mountain? And he said, these mountains were placed here before even time. They've been sacred since then. They'll still be sacred now. He says, so, which is good.
Yeah.
And
Maybe humans are just a little blip on the radar screen in terms of all of time. Yeah.
so,
Part of what we're trying to do, as I said before, is share information. There's certainly a lot of negative examples of people really abusing water in the watershed. But there's, I think, the start of a conversation about what would be best practices with water, what would show our respect for water. How can we live in harmony and in balance with nature? And one of my hopes is that these different communities along the river could talk to one another and say, hey, this is how we do things. This is a better practice. It conserves water. It respects water, and so on. I don't know. I'm just sort of talking,
Well,
but
this thing about people putting trash, they don't know. Maybe it's easy for them just to hide their trash and throw it away, But there are people that live down here, and we do, we still can dig up water, and I don't know if they see that. It's like somebody throwing trash on you, and so be careful what you do. Maybe down the ways there's somebody that's going to get affected from it, especially with trash. Try to keep our water clean.
that's a wonderful local situation, because you think about, I mentioned the folks up in Wyoming. Up there they do a lot of fracking, and this is where they're pumping sand and water and chemicals down into the earth in order to crack the rock.
Oh, is that what it?
Yeah, and that's what fracking is. They crack the rock deep down in the earth so that the oil can then come in the cracks and then be pumped out.
Oh, wow.
So that's the fracking, and it's very controversial. But one of the reasons that gas is so cheap now in the U.S. is because there's so much cheap oil and gas available because of fracking. So people go, oh, well, I like having cheap gas, but and it's way down in the earth. How could that possibly affect me? It might be a mile or more deep under the earth, but we're putting chemicals down in the earth, and then under great pressure. So that great pressure cracks the rock, and then that oil comes back up. So of course, wherever the cracks are, the chemicals can go into the water, the ancient aquifer. So when you tell me the story about your neighbors upstream, I'm thinking, well, we have neighbors upstream in Wyoming who are, it's just a bigger scale, but we have neighbors in Wyoming who are putting chemicals into the water, and those are going to come all the way down to even down to Mexico. It's a long ways from. I have a friend teaching high school in Pinedale, Wyoming, which is way up northern Wyoming, and there's a mountain range called the Wind River Range, and that's the source of the Green River. And so this is pristine water coming from the mountains of Wyoming into the Colorado River eventually. And yet, if you go on, you look at a satellite map, from way above, you see the landscape. It's like Acne. It's like wells like this, and then here's the river. The wells come right up to the edge of the river like this, and it's not like they're doing it away from known areas of, clean water. They do it right next to the water, and so I'm worried about that. So, this project we're doing with Tsaile, we're leaving video equipment with her and her students so they can make their own videos. And it can be about water. I would like it to be about water, but it can also be about other issues that are important to the community. But I also sent a video kit to Wyoming and for the kids to use. And I'm very curious to see what they are going to say with their video. Will they say, oh yes, fracking is good because look, we can build a new school. We can keep our highways, it's the taxes go up. There's a lot of tax revenue because of the oil, right? So, but it's very short-term thinking.
The other thing is we believe that the earth is our mother. For myself, that's saying it from my parents. Or when my mother died, I was in grief. And I said, my mother is gone. And one of the elderly corrected me. You still have a mother. Don't ever say that. The earth is your mother. So it was your father, the sky, And that's a balance, you know. It does work together, and that's how we're trained. And we got to take care of the mother, you know. And if it's blowing her up in the middle and making oil work, then it shouldn't be like that, you know. And I don't know. For myself, I'm getting older, and I worry about the younger ones where they're very dependent on everything modern and easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope they realize that they are messing around with that earth, and everything that's been put here has been for our purpose as the earth people. That's once we emerge into this earth, we're called earth people, and that everything that the holy people want us to use and to live on this earth have been given to us within the four sacred mountains from each direction. That's what we're blessed with, and that's how we exist here. And we try to make it, you know, and we're very protective probably of the earth and the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I don't know, my children, when they come back, they like it. They can live it, you know, the way that we do here. And like I said, sometimes we stay here for 2 weeks, and sometimes if we didn't have a vehicle, sometimes we would be here 3 weeks and we run out of food. Then we had to hike out and bring more groceries.
Right.
So then we have to find water.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just, that's one thing that I don't, some of even our younger generation don't seem to have respect for that, because we're starting to where we provide everything for them.
Yeah, yeah.
And Dawn is real conscious of the two, you know. You can have that, you know. You drink water.
Yeah.
And it's good.
She's good with those boys.
Yeah.
She's very good with those boys.
She's their clan mommy.
Yeah.
Our clan is Tachini, Tachini, which is red running into water, the Zuni division.
Oh.
And then Stan's clan is Nakaidine, which is wandering people or Mexican clan.
Uh-huh.
And then my dad is Torichini, which is bitter water. And then my Nali, my dad's father's family is Kia'ani, Tarring House. So we all have clans like that, and that's
Yes.
what she's really teaching them. And we have them in a school in Winderot that has Navajo only up to 6th grade. So, but they're starting to introduce English, and so even that, you know, we're really trying hard to really teach them that, and trying to keep that language going with them. And
So important. And it's such a reversal from
yeah,
50
what
years
we-
ago,
yeah.
60 years ago. Yeah, yeah.
where we were. That's what I told those teachers. They wanted juniors sort of getting slow, and they were saying that he's going to need extra help, and they thought it's better for him to go to an English class because it would make a difference with him learning. And I said, I don't think so. I said, it's a challenge to learn your language. I said, give him that challenge. Maybe he's too smart for us. I said, can't treat him dumb. I said,
Yeah. I'm
So-
sure you're right.
uh-huh.
I heard a news broadcast just last week where it said that people who are bilingual or more have less incidence of dementia when they grow older.
That they can switch.
Yeah, well, they're using their brain more effectively somehow. So, well, we've been speaking 59 minutes and 5 seconds, and I thank you so much for your time. This has really been special.